Hi, everyone. So you hear me. So I'm very pleased and honored to be with you today, a bit nervous too. So my name is Jean-Philippe Baudet. So I am the CEO of VNet Network, which is a global infrastructure for data monetization. So I see that we are not changing subject that much yet. So let's start by the little story of me. So where do I come from? So I've been studying in the video game industry, and I quite never worked in the video game industry finally because I was absorbed into startups for 7 years, for the last 7 years. So I've been working and co-founding Serenity Technologies, which was an AI service firm, in which we will essentially take napkins from early stage client and transform it into an MVP, build a team around it, executive team, developer team, procure a CTO, and then make a project out of that. So I discovered the blockchain sphere and the Bitcoin, Ethereum, and everything quite by chance when I was invited to work in one of the first hubs in Canada that was evangelizing blockchain and Bitcoin technology, which was called the Bitcoin Embassy. So we have worked in there. It was a hacker space with a few guys and a lot of computer. It was not as exciting and as popular as it is today, of course. So we have worked for 7 years, and we felt ready after that to say, OK, we have identified a lot of challenge in machine learning. We have learned how blockchain technology works. So now we are ready to fix a real problem that we faced in every day while we were working. So this is me. So now, what are we doing? Who is VNet? What are we? So I'll start by the little story of what is the challenge we're trying to face here. The challenge that we're trying to face is very simply said that data is out there. Data, there's a lot of data. We hear about data every day, so we are producing data with our mobile phone, computer, every store which we deal with, every service provider, our doctors, everyone has data for us, are owning our own data. And this data is kind of mainly locked. So we are producing millions and millions, well, billions of entry of data, and at the same time, paradoxically, when you work in machine learning, there's a big scarcity in structured data. So I was asking myself, well, what is the problem with that? Why are we so hard to find structured data if you're not consuming to Facebook, LinkedIn, or open source data that is available that like 2,000 people used before you? And what are the challenges? Why we don't have that much interesting and very valuable structured data that could train new models? So let's just go around all the challenges that we're facing. So let's play a bit the game of being in the foot of the ones who wants to buy data. So you're there, you're a machine learning developer or a company that wants to create a new model. You want something that is niche in data and cannot be procured by just consumer data with LinkedIn, Facebook, and all those providers. You need to go directly to the owner. If not, you need to mandate a data broker, someone that will go to the owners of data, will have the network necessary to fetch where the data is, and if you're lucky, it will already be structured, but most of the time it is not. So then you have to do data curation. You have to do what we call usually data mining, which consists of many steps that you must do in order to make the data, extract some valuable knowledge out of it, and also mainly for all that privacy concern, you need to do anonymization, pseudonymization, and all these nitty-gritty details that needs to be done. Then, even when you have all that, you need to go to a compliance officer to be sure that you're respecting all the regulation. If you're trading in Europe, you need to comply to the GDPR. That is a bit new, but it was coming for a long time, and it is a good thing. Everyone should be in control of their data, and no one should ever be compromised or used as a source for their data. So, and when we go to the problematic of when you want to sell your own data, so you have a lot of data, you have maybe dozens of databases, you have collected that for years, you have millions of entry. Most of the people whom I speak to don't know what to do. So if they know a little what to do, they will not have necessarily the know-how how to do this. Doing data mining and data science is not a simple thing. You must really understand the value of your data, you must understand the relevance of your data and where it can be applied to. So the best model that were derived from this are called data-driven model. It is a way in which people can capture data in a way it's already structured to have a value to some clients. So generally, it will be captured and pushed to clients already. These are the model that type of Facebook and LinkedIn that already all did their business model on this. Then when you want to sell your data, you need also to comply. So you need to protect your client. You need to do all the nitty-gritty details I was speaking about. So this is mainly why we don't have that much data. And even if you did all of this, you need still to find a way to sell it. So if you, many people will do an API, a portal, somewhere where you can access this data. So you need to do marketing, you need to do publicity, or you need, again, data broker to go fetch client for you. So this is also a big problem. And even then, you would have costs to just maintain your own platform. So if you're not a business model that is completely driven on data, it's kind of almost hopeless for many people. This is why we are targeting small and medium enterprise. So just to resume all of this, the challenge that we faced all the time was the challenge of privacies, mainly. People don't want to breach their client privacy. They don't want to reveal the source of their clients. They don't want to reveal the way they capture the data. So intellectual property is something. All the technology that you have developed to capture this data belongs to you, and you don't want to reveal it by the way your data is structured. So you need to protect a lot of things when you want to do this. So, and not mentioning all the data science and the cost that it will cost you to hire 250,000 US dollars people to just go inside, say, hey, you have this data, and make this without even the knowledge if you're going to be able to sell it. So these are big problems. These are the problems we faced every time we were going to someone saying, hey, can you sell your data? And we had to deal with them, prove to them that we're going to do data mining correctly, and then they would accept to sell this data, and we could start training our own algorithm model. Because all of this data in our case, is not consumer data necessarily to push to publicity and everything. It's to make predictive models, to make machine learning model that can do smart ads and can do smart things. So what is VNet and where do we come from? Where do we come in that? Okay. So we are a global data infrastructure for monetization. It's an exchange, finally, that could be called as a marketplace. We sell structured data, we produce structured data, but we don't own any data. What we do is we plug together sellers and buyers. So the sellers will create structured data by automatization, because the real key is all the problem I told you before is you need to automatize all these processes. You need to automatize the anonymization. You need to automatize all the data mining process that will be done. And you need to do that in a way they don't need a data scientist to do it. So that's one great key that is in there. Then we come in there and say, yeah, but when you buy data, actually today, you have no way of knowing the quality of the data you're buying. You either need to trust your data broker, you either need to trust the owner that, yes, my database is very clean, don't worry, or you need to curate it as it is 90% of the time that I faced in myself. I never really, databases are never really clean. They're generally made by human or made by machine that were updated 10 times. So there's a lot of crap into there. Sorry for the word. And what we are adding as a value to this is a peer-to-peer curation and Q&A system. Simply put, it is a way that we will help the student around the world in developing country by giving them a job of curating data for our clients. And then we will be able to procure added value to this data and QA verification with many people. So when you're buying your data, you have a real stats of what data you're buying. So you will save on all the data curation and all the redoing that you will do on your data. So this is a great added value if you wish to buy data, or if you wish to have a machine buying data for you. Let's say that we could figure out that a trading bot could buy live data everywhere to take its decision on my financial market. This is one of our goals. So one of the use case general in which we aim to use it. Let's be clear, we aim small and medium enterprise. We are not aiming single person data. We are very agreeable with all the projects that give sovereignty for a single user on data, and we admire that. We just decided to go into another market, the market that we believe is completely closed for now, because the small and medium enterprise don't have the know-how, the cost, the money, and everything we just talked before to be able to unlock this data. And this is huge amount of data, probably the most that exists actually now. So just some use case. We can do that in fintech. I already told about trading bot because trading bot is the most obvious. They consume hundreds, sometimes thousands of feeds of data to just take a decision. And often they need to have their own data mining process all the way around so they can clean their own data. And even then, it's not always working that well. The one that works really well are the one we never heard about because they are not to be sold. Then there's the fintech consumer service. All fintech consumer service and all smart ads and all marketing could benefit from predictive analysis. Predictive analysis is a very, very good way to predict what your consumer will want, in what context they will want it, and how they want it to be presented. But you can do it two ways. You can have the real detail about the person, or you can have all the profile of this person on a very large scale, so then the machine learning will be able to guess, we could say mathematically, the prediction of what they would want. So this is, we could do it in insurance, banking, we could do it in all type of financial service. I don't see any market that could not benefit from a prediction market. So it's really about how do you get all the structured data to do it. So these are the main use case we will work on to start with, but as a matter of fact, we want to do all the type of market. It's just you have to be realistic and you have to start somewhere that is already strong. So about the technologies, I could go on for hours about technology, but we have only 15 minutes, so I would like to prepare just a few questions that I believe that are relevant about why and why we did this or that choice. So just to make a little context here, our platform is going to be built on Ethereum. That's going to be a fork of Ethereum a few months after that we intend to have our own native blockchain eventually, but we'll start on something that is already strong and working. Why do we use Ethereum? We use Ethereum because it's a good way to handle user authentication, and it's a very good way to trade private keys between different users. So in our marketplace, the way it works, we never store anything. We never have any data our own. We are a streaming engine, and this streaming engine is fully encrypted. So when people want to buy or trade data, what they are buying or trading effectively are keys that enables them to read and authentify themselves to these streams. And so this way, we can preserve many things like the anonymity. We can also manage all the wallet and the transaction, which will be in our own utility token, of course. So this is why we use Ethereum. Why a decentralized system? Someone could say, hey, you could build a centralized system for doing structured data and automizing data mining. Yeah, that could be done. But there's two main reasons why we do that. First of the reason is the most obvious. We don't want any single point of failure. So we talked earlier about security, privacy, and all these concerns. So by using a decentralized computing system like the Boink network, how we intend to use it, or using a system that already did that like iExec, we will manage to have none of single point of failure. Everyone only randomly have some parts of the data to handle, so nobody is ever able to recover the whole data. And even then, it's encrypted anyway. So why automating all of this? Well, we automate everything. This is the key. This is the key why the small and medium enterprise don't do it. It's because they don't have an easy way that they can only have a little system administrator go in there, pushing out database, and it will create compilation for you. It will do the data mining for you. And even then, you need to authorize what you want to sell. You need to authorize to who you want to sell it, if you want it to be public or not. And on top of that, we call ourselves to be a semi-anonymous system. So just to be sure you understand, a semi-anonymous system means that all our system runs on a zero-knowledge proof process. Okay, we don't know anything about what is in there, but we leave to the client the choice of entering metadata in which they can label themselves. Let's say that you have Harvard University selling a good structured data about agronomy that could be used to create new model. They may want to say that it comes from Harvard because this is a trust factor. This is for them a marketing factor. And if Harvard, MIT, and let's say Cambridge will work together pushing a structured data aggregated together, even then it will be a more bigger trust factor. So that's why we do it semi-anonymously. So I guess this may cover a bit why we're using Ethereum, why we are doing this in a zero-knowledge proof, which I cannot really explain how it works because I just don't have the time, but don't hesitate to come and ask me a question after that. I will be very pleased. So now, who are we? So The actual market and where we are going with that. Just a little snapshot of what we're going to enter. We are in the market of small and medium enterprise. So here we have found the data that for now, in only the data processing, so which is only a small part of what we're going to handle, is approximately $50 billion for now. Our business model is very simple. Everything is free. Everything is open source, and we really intend to be forked at one time because this is the greatest valuation that you can ever have in the blockchain community. This is what I believe. And we intend to take some 2% of the market, so we intend to take 2% of the market eventually. So we also intend to unlock this market. Let's say what I mean by unlocking the market. It was almost impossible for us to find a way to define exactly the amount of data that is currently locked. Every company that is a small and medium enterprise that is immersing or doing something, they all have data. Whenever I go to them and I say, hey, we could automate your process of monetizing your data without you having to do the marketing, the privacy, and we will be fully compliant even with GPDR, they're like, oh yeah, you really can do that? So they are interested. Nobody almost monetized their data in there. So we intend to take a 2% market share of what is actually there, of what will come in 2025. But more than that, we believe that we can double the market because we're going to unlock data that was not available in the market, so it's not calculated nor projected yet. So what are the first targeted verticals? As I told you, we are starting small. We are starting realistically. So we go in the market that are already ready to pay, that already have a value to pay on that. So we have online gaming. So an example, there's a few players in online gaming that master more than half, or maybe probably more, of the data that is actually available. It is a very strong advantage for them, and it's correct. But all the small players could benefit from a platform like this because they can aggregate all these stats completely anonymously and completely safely, and they could benefit of creating new added value model all over what is existing and competing with the big player, something that they could not until now. Same thing with Fintech. Same thing with Fintech. We can unlock a lot of data that will do the predictive market and chatbot and all the trading bot I was speaking to you. This is a market that already exists. People are using Data Broker to do that. I've participated in the conception of some, so I learned about how painful it can be to do that. We have also the insurance, healthcare, consumer data. So I just want to be precise when I speak of consumer data. We do not sell what the consumer, we sell the profile of the consumer. So it's only a profile that is completely anonymous, but it's compiled within a lot of profile that is using a metadata field. So you can know what type of data you're using, let's say age, if they have family, if they have that or this illness, if they had treatment in the last years, things like that. This can be very, very helpful for a lot of type of research. And of course, we are around a very big network of people in mining industry in Montreal, in Canada. Canada is very strong on mining industry. So on our network, we have learned that they always do research and they have billions and billions of lot of data that they never really thought about monetizing that could help them create new technology to spot new minerals and new techniques to use these minerals. And as we can know, this is a lot of money that they can save from this. So we also target vertical in what we call technological transfer. So what is technological transfer? Technological transfer is when someone is acquiring IP or a company or a patent in order to get this property for their own product or for their own value. So scientific and people in universities and people that produce data and produce algorithms are producing intellectual property. The fact we are using the blockchain makes all these trading on the public ledger. So somehow they are all protected because the track of everything they did at the time they did is always completely there. So when we need to sell it, we can send a full package of everything they own with proof of it to the lawyers, accountant, and everyone. And we have received very good feedback that it could really help the transfer of technological power, we could say, from the academic sector to the market sector. So this is why we intend to link those together. So The go-to-market strategy. As I told you, we have a 2% transaction fee on any transaction. So everything is free, but anytime you make money, you pay a little cut of money. So it's a very sound business model, we believe, because we sell richness. We sell people to say, hey, you can create new revenue, and these revenues going to help others to create new added value in which they're going to create more revenue for their own company. So these are the numbers we're speaking about. If we would take 2% of the actual market, which will be unlocked, it will already be a very huge sum of revenue to start with. We will be very happy to do 1 billion a year to start. But the fact is, for now, we believe that we can double this market. So if the projections say that it can go to 123 billion in 2025, we believe we can double that to 250 billion market. So then if we will take 1 or 2% of this market, we'll still be very, very happy. So, acquisition strategy. Someone will say, hey, there's an exchange and a marketplace. A marketplace doesn't create...
We're going to have to focus.
Yeah, already?
Again, please. Yeah.
It's already 15 minutes? Yeah, my God, I always speak too much. So, well, sorry for that. This is, so we are a great team, and if anytime you want to ask more question about us, I'm going to be very, very pleased to tell you about. Thank you very much.